Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Riri, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing the Housewives of Orange County. It's season 3, episode 7. She said. Say that 7 times fast. Pardon my appearance. It's Thursday. It's been a long day. I just had to watch this episode, and we have a lot to unload on this one. I took very detailed notes because it was kind of difficult to keep up with just because there was so much going on. So let's get right into it. So the opening scene is Shannon at her home. She's meeting up. Her personal trainer is coming to her house to work out with her. And in her confessional, she looks slimmer. So clearly, she gets to a point where she starts slimming down later on down the line. But she does express to the trainer that she's not ready to date because she doesn't feel good about herself. And she expresses that she felt insecure next to David because David was in really good shape. But, a couple of things here. Shannon, one, you could have, in previous episodes, in previous seasons, we saw David bonding with Tamra and Eddie while working out and doing all kinds of physical challenges and things of that nature. So if you wanted to bond with him in that way, I'm sure he would have been open to it. But also, by the time, David seems like there was nothing Shannon could really do to make him want to be around her anyway. So I don't know if that would have even helped. But I could see why she felt insecure next to David, especially since he cheated on her, and he cheated on her with somebody younger and probably in better shape. So that's definitely a reason to be insecure and feel, a little gun shy about going on dates with people and being accepted for how you are. So I think as a woman, that's something we all can relate to in some way. So that was, that was kind of sad to hear. And I'm hoping that at some point in the season, Shannon gets to a happier place because it's kind of mundane and kind of draining, and we'll get to that word in a second, but it's kind of, it's the same shit, different episode with her, so I'm just hoping that she'll change the record, eventually. So Tamra, in the next scene, rolls on into dinner. Her and Eddie meet up with Emily and Shane. I always forget this man's name, so Shane. They meet up with them to have dinner because Tamra says that she's known Emily for 3 years, but she doesn't know her husband, which leads me to believe she must know her as like a acquaintance as opposed to an actual friend, because how could you possibly know somebody for 3 years if you're friends with them and not know much about their husband? So I found that a little weird. But they talk about Eddie's health, that gets brought up. And he kind of goes on to say that he's doing great. Like, he acts like nothing's wrong with him, kind of. And Tamara interjects and says, yeah, because he's not taking the medication. And speaking as a healthcare professional, he has a heart problem. And he has a really serious heart problem, actually. I think what they said in the previous episode is he has what's called atrial fibrillation issues. And these are problems that don't go away. And he says he's taking it easy with working out and stuff, but if the doctor's giving you medication to help your heart work better, I think you should take it. But I will say, a lot of men have issues with medications that pertain to heart and blood pressure because they tend to make your pee-pee do, they cause impotence. And Eddie is a very machismo Latin man, so I could see how that would be something that would turn him off. Or even just the fact that, for him, somebody that's such a what's the word I'm looking for? He's very type A and very take charge. I'm sure it's not easy for him, but sir, don't be dumb. Take your medication. Like, he could drop dead on a Stairmaster or on a treadmill if he doesn't, with a condition like that. And then Tamara goes on to say that he is taking blood thinners as they're all ordering a round of drinks. And again, as a healthcare professional, you're not really supposed to drink alcohol when you're on blood thinners, because guess what alcohol is? A blood thinner. So it would make sense. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But anyways, Tamra dives right in on after that into the Gina Shane situation. She brings it right on up, and Shane, in his explanation, didn't convince me that he did not go off on Gina. He just kind of confirms, like, he says, I didn't go off on her, and then he says, she was loud, my kids were upstairs, so I told her she needed to leave, which is essentially what Gina said. I just wasn't convinced by his explanation that he wasn't rude to her, so I found that to be interesting. And then Emily brings up the fact that Shane's sarcastic. He has a sarcastic sense of humor. And what brought that on was Tamra says to him, I'm glad I finally met you and we've gotten to hang out. I was scared, I'm glad that you're not scary. And he goes, oh, sorry to disappoint you. And I didn't take his humor to be that he's sarcastic. I just think he's an asshole. I don't think that he's sarcastic or that he's misunderstood. I think he's a prick. And I think Emily makes excuses for him because she knows he's a prick. And that's embarrassing. Like, who wants to be like, yeah, sorry about my husband and the way he acts. He's kind of an asshole. And I think that he says exactly what he's thinking, and he hides behind the fact that he's kidding, but he's not really kidding. I think he's being 100% honest. So we go on to the next scene, which is Kelly making cupcakes with her daughter, Jolie. I love that name. I think that's such a cute name for a little girl. And I will say I think that Kelly and her daughter have a bit of an inappropriate relationship, meaning I think Kelly leans on her too much as a friend. Like, she mentions that Jolie calls her out on her shit. And I don't think that she should be calling you out on your shit, Kelly. I think you should be calling her out on hers because you're the parent and she's the child. So why does she have to parent you? Like, in the first or second episode, Kelly's kind of unloading to Jolie about the issues that she was having with Vicki. And the whole time I was thinking, like, God, my mom would never talk to me about issues that she's having with her friends because that's inappropriate. And that's a problem between two adults. I'm a child. I have no place in that. So I just feel like sometimes Kelly crosses the mother-daughter boundary. But at the same time, every mother and daughter has a different relationship. Maybe it will work out for them in the long run, but that's to be determined. But to go back to the weirdness in the relationship, she goes on to talk to her about real estate that she's looking at and how one house only cost $4 million. Like, that's subpar, like, oh, well, that only cost $4 million. And then Jolie starts putting in her 2 cents on where she lived. And I was just like, I didn't know how much my mother or my parents paid for bills until I was much older. Like, this was not something I was discussing with my mom at 11 years old. And had I brought the topic up to her, she'd tell me to mind my own fucking business because she pays the bills. So I think it's off. I don't think that it's healthy. And I think that eventually Jolie's going to be laying on somebody's couch for an hour once a week trying to unload why she has so many issues in her life that relate back to her relationship with her mother. But Jolie is spoiled per Kelly. She sent her to camp on a private plane. I went to summer camp almost every summer on a yellow school bus. But also at the same time, they do live in Orange County, and later on in the episode, Kelly brings up that everyone in Orange County is wealthy, and it's just like, no, ma'am, the people in your life that live in Orange County are wealthy. I grew up, like I said before, I spent half of my childhood in Orange County with middle-class American people. They weren't rich, but they weren't poor. And I lived in a beach town where real estate was expensive, but, you could rent if you needed to rent. It wasn't impossible to live in Orange County. And I think that it's important. Well, we'll get to that later on. So anyways, that kind of ends the scene there. We'll put a pin in that conversation. So Vicki is at home with her dad/boyfriend, Steve. And I just keep referring to him as like an older man or her boyfriend. Because, for instance, in this scene, she says, hey, do you want to go out to dinner or do you want to stay here? And he says, well, we've got meat that's defrosted, so we should probably eat it. Like, come on, Steve, get a life. Like, just because the meat's defrosted, it'll be there tomorrow. You don't have to eat at home tonight. And this is why I just don't think in the long run him and Vicki are gonna work out. Like, Vicki is a very free, fun spirit, and you can tell that Steve, I mean, he was a cop, and people in certain professions, like police officers and stuff, that had to adhere to schedules and certain rules and uniforms, he's very type A. And although Vicki is type A in portions of her life, like with her business and things like that, she's not overall like a type A person. She is a kind of go with the flow kind of girl outside of the hours of 8 to 5. And he's still not. Like, he's retired, but he still acts like a man. Like, I'm sure he's one of those retired people that gets up at 7 o'clock and, you know, sits down at the computer and pays some bills and goes and gets the paper and sees what's going on in politics. Like, you know, he just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that knows how to relax. So they talk about her birthday and how she wants to go golfing. She's taken up golfing because Steve likes to golf and he bought her golf clubs. So she says she wants to invite the girls to go golfing, and that was kind of the end of that. Gina goes to what looked like to me to be the Irvine Spectrum. I could be wrong, but it looks like she goes to the Irvine Spectrum to go shopping with Emily. And Emily shows up late because hashtag Orange County problems. Her Tesla, she didn't pay attention to the mileage on it, and it ran out of battery. God forbid, you know. So she shows up late, and Gina tells Emily, you know, that after she left happy hour that night, her marriage was brought up by some of the girls. And now, I'm gonna look at my notebook a lot on this because I want to make sure I get the details of this right, because this shit gets so convoluted that it was almost hard to keep up with. So, Gina tells Emily that after she left happy hour, the conversation continues on about Shane. And Gina says that Shannon tells everybody that coming from a man, he should not have spoken to Gina or anybody that way, which I think, you know, Shannon and I can agree on that. I think if Shane did speak to Gina in the way that she conveyed, he's wrong. You shouldn't speak to a woman or somebody else's wife in that way. You go get your wife and say, tell your loud fucking friend it's time to leave. But you don't need to do that. So, Gina continues to relay to Emily that Shannon compared Shane to David and may have some concerns for Emily if in fact Shane is like David. Now, let's put into perspective. This woman is going through a divorce. All her wounds are wide open and fresh, you know. So, you know, like any woman, like when, you know, I've had girlfriends that are going through a breakup and, you know, they're like, well, watch out, girl. He might do this. And it's just like, no, boo, like, you're just a little miserable right now, but I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, which is exactly what I think is going on here with Shannon. I think Shannon, first of all, it was something to talk about. I don't think they should have been talking about it without without Emily there to defend herself or her husband. But I'm also not going to sit here and act like me and my girlfriends haven't discussed a situation when, you know, somebody wasn't around. It's just something women do. It's not great. We shouldn't do it. There should be a code of ethics that we follow. But sometimes the conversation continues and it turns into a bigger situation, which is exactly what is happening here. Because Gina reiterates that she told Shannon she understood in that moment why Shane was upset. And Emily, you know, at that point is pissed. And, you know, rightfully so, because she's like, I don't think anybody should be discussing my marriage. And you're right, you know, Emily, they shouldn't be discussing your marriage, especially because, yeah, all those women at that table are either divorcees or in problematic relationships, with the exception of, no, Vicki's been divorced, but she's in a relationship now. Tamra's in a decent relationship now, but let's not forget the drama she went through with Simon for a good 3 seasons. So I can't stand it when anybody has something to say about my life and they all live in a glass house. And so, rightfully so, Emily's pissed and I would be too. So Gina does tell Emily, though, that Shannon did convey, you know what, I'm probably just projecting the issues that I'm having right now onto Emily. And Shannon did say that, and Gina did tell Emily that. And it's important to note these next few things, because Gina then tells Emily that, this isn't an issue between you and I anymore. Everybody has something to say on it. So you need to talk to the women about this. And, this is the beginning of the shitstorm that comes at the end of this episode. So, next, Kelly and her daughter are volunteering at a homeless shelter. And, that was a very humbling kind of scene for me, even, because there were little things that I hadn't even thought about. Like when they were prepping the food, one of the coordinators of the homeless shelter food prep was saying she doesn't put apples in the fruit salad because, the homeless people, they have compromised teeth, and it's just little things like that we take for granted that, those of us that work and have healthcare benefits and things like that, we're so fortunate to just be able to go to the dentist and, we have a cavity or need something done, we pay a copay and we're done with it. And these people, they're struggling to eat an everyday food that I eat almost every day. And so I thought it was a really good scene. Kelly goes into the fact that Jolie is spoiled and that, Kelly worked at 15 and it's like, hey, Kelly, same. Like, I think the average American teenager these days works, probably at 15, 16 years old, because you have to learn work ethic early unless you're born into money. And I get the impression that, Jolie's father is well off, but maybe not, a billionaire or anything like that. I'm sure she's going to have to work in life. So I just come from a place where I don't think it's bad, rich or poor, to have a good work ethic, because with or without money, you're going to pay on the front end or the back end for things in life. And I just think that this is the time, Kelly. Like, you're starting off good here with getting her to volunteer at a shelter and seeing that there are people in Orange County that are less fortunate. And that's another thing that bothered me about Kelly saying, Orange County is full of wealthy people. Actually, Kelly, contrary to what you think, Orange County has one of the highest homeless populations in the state of California. There are, where I lived in San Clemente, in Orange County, that's the town I lived in, there were so many homeless vets living under freeway passes. Mind you, San Clemente is a very small town. It's very close to San Diego. It's very close to the border of Mexico. And there were so many homeless people, so many impoverished people in that town alone. In the area of Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, there's lots of underprivileged people. I worked at one point in my career for a public health agency that serviced low-income people in Orange County. And that company's been in business for decades because there's a demand for it. So I think that, again, like I said earlier, Kelly, you surround yourself with wealthy people in Orange County, but there are lots of underprivileged people in Orange County. So I just think that was a really uneducated thing to say about a place that you reside in. But again, most of us don't see outside of the four walls of our own homes. So it's all about perception. But then what killed me is Kelly goes, my lifestyle is not the same anymore. Jolie's lifestyle is not going to be the same. Ma'am, I'm sure you're getting a divorce settlement around the same, dollar amount as Shannon's. Like, let's not act like you're going to be in the poorhouse. Are you going to be able to sit at dinner and probably order 4 or 5 appetizers like they showed in the clip from the previous episode, or from a previous episode when she was out to dinner with her husband? Probably not. Like, yeah, maybe you should be a little bit more frugal, but let's not act like you're going to be coming to this homeless shelter that you're volunteering at for a meal. Like, I just thought that was ridiculous. Sorry, guys. Forgot to turn my phone on vibrate. So, I did make a note here. I think despite Jolie's upbringing, she's going to be she'll be all right. I think that she was so sweet and empathetic when she was serving the homeless people. She didn't complain. She was just, she just seems like a well-rounded kid, and I think she'll be all right despite the fact that Kelly's her mother. So we flash to Tamra at home with her mom, and she's scooting around on her scooter and catching up, shooting the shit. And she brings up the fact that she's been using CBD creams to help her foot heal faster. And she's like, but I don't smoke weed. And yeah, okay, I live in California, and California is a weed state. It's a very weed positive place. But what kills me are people that are like, oh, I use CBD creams, but I don't smoke weed. Like, it's like saying, oh, I drink wine, but I don't drink vodka. Like, so I don't really mess around with alcohol. Like, it's just like, who fucking cares? Like, it's legal here. If you do, you do. And, Tamra's mom goes on to say, my new boyfriend smokes weed. And clearly Tamra was unaware that her mom had a boyfriend, because she's like, your boyfriend? And she's like, yeah, he smokes weed and he's a plumber. And then Tamra goes on to say, which I found interesting, well, where was he a month ago when we had water squirting out of the roof or the wall? And I'm just like, I'm sorry, didn't you just move into this house? Like, and you said you had this house built. It's a brand new house. I've never bought a home before, but if you're having plumbing issues or something that early, like, isn't it like a warranty on a car? Like, can't you go back to the builder and be like, hey, you fucked this up, come fix it? Like, what? That was weird to me. Shoot down in the comments, though, if any of you own a home or have bought a home. Let me know if I'm nuts or if I should be educated about the home buying experience. Let me know in the comments what you thought about that. I thought that was weird. But Tamra's mom goes on to say that her boyfriend wants to talk to Eddie pretty soon because he wants to talk about supplements and a healthy lifestyle. And, Tamra kind of shares how she wishes that Shannon would talk to her about this kind of stuff, and that she's offered to provide Shannon with a personal trainer or gym sessions at her gym. And I think a couple of things about this. I think that Shannon is so insecure about her weight and her appearance that she's ashamed and she doesn't want to let anybody in on that. And I think that bringing an outside personal trainer who she doesn't know, who doesn't know her friends, that comes to her house is a safe little cocoon for her. And that, although it was nice of Tamra to offer, Tamra, she doesn't want the help from you right now. She just wants your support. And I can see why Tamra might feel offended or feel away. But also, it could be that maybe Shannon doesn't want to mix business into their friendship. Like, what if Shannon gets a personal trainer that she hates and it's like she has to go back to Tamra? This might cause a problem. I understand both sides of this. But then Tamra goes on to discuss that, Shannon's getting $30,000 or was going to get $30,000 for her divorce settlement monthly. And Tamra's mom blurts out, well, can he afford that? And it's like, ma'am, I don't think that's any of your business, okay? David can't afford it. He's got it. The judge, when people go through divorces, they look at assets, they look at monthly income, and they determine what the shitball can contribute to his ex-wife's life. So, yeah, I think he's got it. But anyways, Tamra goes on to tell her mom, Shannon did ask for it to be reduced because David pitched a fit about it. And it got reduced, but David emailed Shannon's attorney and said, I want the bills taken out of my name. Since she's getting such a hefty amount of money, she can put the bills in her name, which I think is fair. Put the bills in your name, Shannon. But let me preface this next thing by saying, Shannon comes from money. She grew up privileged, and then she married David, who made himself a millionaire while he was married to her. We know from the previous episode that David had all the bills in his name and paid all the bills. So Tamra thinks it's hilarious that Shannon called her hysterically upset because she didn't know she had to pay for water. Now, Shannon, don't be naive. Like, I'm sure rich people know that you have to pay for water. But at the same time, I think that everything's just kind of piling on top of Shannon, and this is something that's laughable to Tamra and her mom, because Tamra, a backstory on her, is that she's from a little town from not far from where I live now called Glendora. And Glendora is nothing like Orange County. Like, it's not a terrible place, don't get me wrong, But the real estate there doesn't cost anything what Orange County real estate costs. It's much cheaper to live there. And we know Tamra didn't grow up with a silver spoon in her mouth. She happened to marry well when she married Simon. So, you know, I thought it was interesting to see, like, the kind of prince and the pauper juxtaposition of that conversation. But Tamra does mention that the friendship is draining. That, you know, Shannon calls her almost every day, freaking out about one thing or another. And at first I thought Tamra was being a little selfish, because in my head I was like, well, Tamra, you've been through a divorce. You leaned on Vicki that whole time. But Tamra said something, and she said, she never once asked me about how Eddie's doing. And I was like, oh, ding, ding, ding. She does have a husband that has a pretty serious health problem right now. And she does have her own children and a business and a broken foot and a lot to juggle. So one-sided friendships are never... Ooh, there's an eyelash in my eye. One-sided friendships are never a good thing. You know, I've been in one-sided friendships, and it is draining, where the person just kind of calls and dumps on you all the time and never once asks, like, what you're going through. Friendship should be a two-way street. And we're going to put a pin in that thought also, because I think this has a lot to do with the end of the episode. So, Tamra, Vicki, and Gina, they gather at Vicki's to go meet up to go golfing for her birthday. And also it's Shannon's birthday. And they're all in their finest, you know, golf outfits from Steinmart. Like, they're all in these pantsuits. Except Tamra looked cute, but the rest of them just kind of looked nuts. And Vicki, you know, claims she's fallen in love with golf, and look, I'm not buying it, and neither is Tamra. Like, I think that Vicki is one of those women that likes whatever her man likes. Like, if she's dating a man that's into football, it's like, go Jets, you know? I think the Jets are a football team. But, you know, or if her man is into deep sea scuba diving, it's like, oh, I'm going to go spend $15,000 on scuba gear. Like, I don't think she's actually into golf. I think she likes it because Steve likes it, but whatever. Okay. Sorry, my sister yelled for me. So Tamra doesn't believe this new, you know, Steve-amized Vicki, and neither do I. They all go to the pro shop. I think that's what it's called. I know shit about golf. They all go to the shop to get set up with clubs and golf carts, bogeys. I'm just saying things at this point. They go to the pro shop to get set up. And Emily, Shannon, and Kelly ride over to the golf course together. And Emily says, sorry about that. My nephew came in to tell me goodnight. Anyways, Emily expresses in her, excuse me, in her confessional that she's still pretty pissed at Shannon, but they're all riding together, so it is what it is. The girls all meet up, I guess, is it the tee, the green? They meet up on the golf course. And side note, is it just me, or does Gina, in her confessional anyway, look a lot like Vicki's daughter, Brianna? I really think that for a split second, I was like, wait, when did Brianna get on, when did she get on the show? But anyways, they all get into separate golf carts and start playing. It's Kelly, Emily, and Shannon in one cart, and Vicki, Tamra, who am I missing? And Gina on the other cart. And they go their separate ways and play golf, which bored me to hell. And I just think that golf is, like, very Orange County. For instance, when I went to school, I'm sorry, you guys, I have this frog in my throat. When I went to school there for PE, we had to play golf. And I wanted to fucking die. It was the most boring thing I've ever done in my life. But those kids in my PE class took that shit seriously. So it is a very Orange County culture-ish thing to go golfing. But a drink cart pulled up, a little golf cart that had cocktails. So I was like, oh, I could be down for that, you know, loosen up a bit, make it a bit more fun. So The girls are having a good time drinking. Tamra brought these little keychain breathalyzers, so they're playing around with those. And we actually find out that Kelly can golf. She's like pretty good at it. So, of course, they wouldn't be who they are if they didn't hit on a guy that was on the course and he was far from interested. And they continue with the breathalyzers, and they're all over the legal limit, which to me was surprising. Like, I didn't realize how very little alcohol it took to get over that 0.08. So that was food for thought for myself. California is very strict on DUIs. So Emily, Shannon, and Kelly are standing around talking, and then just bam, out of nowhere, Emily's like, well, Gina said that you said my husband's abusive. And, I mean, I personally, when she said that, was like, skirt, like, when did she say abusive? Like, that wasn't anything that I picked up in the conversation that she had with you when you guys were shopping. So Shannon says, I would never imply that anyone's husband is abusive, because those things were said about my ex-husband, and it was hell, and she says she wouldn't say that. And Kelly backs her up and is like, she wouldn't do anything like that. But Emily tells Shannon, like, and I hate when women do this, and men, but mostly women do this. She says, well, you can meet my husband, and if you have issues with him, you can take it up with him. And it's just like, why would she do that? Like, she doesn't know this man. Granted, she said some off-color things about him, but I hate it when you have a conflict with a friend's spouse or boyfriend, and they immediately say, well, you can take that up with him. No, my friendship is not with him. My friendship is with you. So if that man did something to me, I'm going to relay that to you, and you relay that to that fucktard that you're married to. Like, I don't deal with other people's husbands, and I don't think anybody should. I think that's a line in friendship that should not be crossed. But Shannon apologizes for the misunderstanding, and she says everyone was making comments, and her intention wasn't to hurt Emily or judge her, which is what was crazy to me when Gina took the message back to Emily. Everybody, Tamra, to me, was the ringleader of this conversation. When the conversation was initially brought up and Gina brought the conversation up the first time, Tamra immediately started making comparisons to her ex-husband, Simon. So it was bewildering to me that this has all come back on Shannon. So we cut to the next scene, which is Tamra humping Vicki on the golfing green, and in a previous scene, Vicki goes into how Shannon and Kelly and Emily are being wild and there are rules to golfing, and I was just thinking to myself, are there no golfing etiquette rules about, middle-aged women humping each other in the middle of the day on the golfing green? Like, have some class. Like, it was just embarrassing. But after that, everyone meets for lunch, and they all cheers to the birthday girls, Shannon and Vicki. Now, pay close attention. I had to pay close attention when we get to this part because it's a lot of moving parts. And again, I'm going to be looking at my notebook a lot to make sure I don't fuck this up because there was so much going on. So, after the food, they order, they toast, whatever. Shannon gets right to it, and she says, who put the word abuse on Shannon Bedore? Like, who said that I said Emily's husband seems abusive? Emily then responds and says, Gina, you told me that. You told me when we went shopping that Shannon said something about Shane being abusive. Emily goes, no, I never said that. And I said, that's not what she said. Like, to myself and to my sister, I was like, that's not what she said. She never said that. But Gina says, no, I told the truth and felt as a friend, you should know that your marriage is being discussed. But I never said that anybody said that your husband was abusive. And Gina then goes on to explain that Shannon never said the word abusive. Emily goes, where would I have gotten that from then? And I hate it when people have their facts wrong and they say that bullshit. Like, where would I have gotten it from then? I don't know, fucking crazy lady. Who knows where you pulled that word from? Maybe a hit dog will holler. Maybe you pulled that word out because you feel that's what's happening to you when you're married. but don't blame it on everybody else. Like, I thought that was just wild, because then Tamra jumps in and she's like, yeah, well, why did she say that about her own husband? And it's like, oh, fuck, here we go. Because we know if there's conflict, Tamra is right there, front row and center, to add her 2 cents, whether it has to do with her or not. So, Emily and Gina, the conversation gets heated, and Tamra goes, you know what, you guys, this is an obvious game of telephone, and that's exactly what it is, and I knew it was gonna do that, because we've been talking about this shit for 2 or 3 episodes now, and it's been discussed so many times. When something is discussed to death, eventually people start putting more information into it than needs to be said, and start putting opinions, and those opinions start getting convoluted as facts, and that was just not the case here. So Gina and Emily go for a walk, because they're like at each other, and so finally Emily's like, you and I, let's go talk. So they go talk. While they're on a walk, Shannon says, Tamra, you're the one who brought up this man in her, or this woman in her marriage at happy hour, and I'm being chastised. And Tamra interjects and's like, oh no, Shannon Bedore, don't you put that on me. And I was just like, where's the lie? I mean, you did bring it up. Shannon put her 2 cents in, as did everybody else, but you did bring it up, Tamra, and you have been one of the main people harping on this. And Shannon, she couldn't even get a sentence out, and she says, Tamra, I'm not accusing you of anything. And she's like, you just did. And Shannon's awfully calm, and we all know Shannon has the tendency to pop off, but she's awfully calm because she's confused as fuck, and so was I. While Emily and Gina are on a walk, Gina is still defending herself, and Emily just hits her with, well, my husband's around and yours isn't, so you don't know what it's like. These women can say whatever they want about my husband because he's actually around and your husband isn't. And Gina was just like, I'm not doing this with you, and she walks off. And I would have done the same thing. It was just like really uncalled for. And Emily, I'm sure you're hurt by all this and you want somebody else to feel hurt too, but that was just a really low blow. And we flash back, so like I said, we're going a lot of back and forth here. We go back to Shannon and the girls at the lunch table. And Shannon says that, she's really annoyed that she's being drawn into all of this. And Tamra goes off on a tangent, which I think had a lot to do. It's like she flashed back to when Vicki told everyone that Eddie was gay on the low. Tamra just starts going off about how when it's about your husband, you're going to protect him and you're going to defend him. And Shannon, again, owns the part in what she said, because Tamra keeps implying you're not owning what you said. And Shannon's like, I actually am. But Tamra keeps going back to this, you said hurtful things about her husband, that's why she's upset. And Tamra's just harping on this. And I was just like, lady, get off it. Like, if you need to go have a talk with Vicki, go have a talk with Vicki. But why are you going off on Shannon? Shannon didn't say anything about Eddie, so calm down. It was just weird. So Kelly then sticks up for Shannon, which I was glad somebody had her back, because Vicki was just sitting there. But I think Vicki just wanted no parts in it. She was just trying to enjoy her birthday. And Shannon is staring at Tamra with this bewildered look in her eyes, as was I, because she's like, what is going on? Like, how? Like, she had no words. So we flash back. Emily and Gina are still going at it, and they finally just say they're going to hug it out and move on. And I was like, God, thank God, because if I have to hear about this shit again, I'm going to die. Like, this is 3 episodes, and we're still talking about this. Like, is this going to set the tone for the reunion? Like, oh, God. So then we go back to the lunch table, and Tamara's still saying, Shannon attacks Shane. She continues to attack Shannon, and Shannon walks off. Like, I'm sure she was overwhelmed. I would have walked off a long time ago. And Kelly tells Tamara, like, look, now she walked off. And Tamara goes, too bad. Excuse me. Sorry about that, you guys. This has been a long video, longer than the others, so my throat got dry. Anyways, let's wrap this on up. So, Kelly tells Tamra, look, you made her upset. And Tamra's like, well, too bad, So Shannon comes back crying, and Tamra's like, I don't care. And I don't think this had anything to do with what Shannon said about Emily's husband. I think this had everything to do with the fact that Tamra's fed up with Shannon. She's tired of being the shoulder for her to lean on and not getting anything in return. And it all just snowballed. So, Tamra says that she's over Shannon. She makes everything about herself. And the episode became a TBD, to be continued. To be continued. So, I don't know, you guys. That episode was a lot. There's a lot of opinions and thoughts about it. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you guys thought of the episode. I think that the next episode is going to be even more explosive from the previews that I saw. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night.